for Three Guys Who Love Sports. My name is Chuck Burge, and I'm here as always with my co-host, Mr. Robert Kinney.
How you doing, sir?
If I was any better, I'd be you. You know that?
Boy, if ever attainable.
That's true. Caitlin is going to join us today. First, let me tell you a little bit about the show. This is Three Guys Who Love Sports. The show started for a good friend of mine that is suffering from prostate cancer, and we wanted to make sure that we take care of him and everybody else that's going through mental or physical issues. And we want to make sure that if we take care of you and you take care of somebody else, we'll all be a better place by helping one another.
Kumbaya.
My Lord. There you go. So, as always, we'll start out with our Miller's Ale House commercial, and we have Caitlin the javelin thrower with us today. Caitlin, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Great. So, did you work Friday?
Last Friday? Yeah, I did.
I heard it was a madhouse.
Yeah, I didn't work during the game, though.
Oh, did you?
No, I worked that night. It was still a madhouse, though, because of all the green beers
It
we
was
sold.
St. Patty's Day, right?
Yeah.
So it was all. So speaking of promotions and stuff, tell us about how you win this hat.
You win this hat by eating the Big 16 burger. It is 2 half-pound patties, 3 slices of bacon, pickles, lettuce, tomatoes, 3 chicken tenders, 3 mozzarella sticks, zesty queso, marinara, onion tanglers, and, of course, the buns.
Wow. But there's no time on it, though. You take as long as you want, right?
Yeah, as long as you finish it in the restaurant with 2 sides of fries, you're good.
Oh, my God. 2 sides
With
of
two
fries.
sides of fries.
With 2 sides of fries.
Oh, yeah, the entire plate is between like 2.5 and 3 pounds, and it hurt going down. They didn't give this to me for free. I had to eat it.
There you go. There you go.
What?
Will that help
I ate
you?
the whole
will that-
thing.
I thought you were just doing a little showmanship here. You actually earned that
She
hat?
earned that hat.
I earned it.
Congratulations.
Bailey's the only one to wear it didn't earn it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. She always
They wouldn't give me one. They said that I had to eat it, but they started giving other workers the hats.
Yeah.
But my thought process was if I wear it to work, enough guys will feel insecure that little old me finished it, and so they'd have to order the burger.
I'm pretty sure you make a lot of guys feel insecure,
So-
Caitlin, so that's not a problem.
Absolutely. We've heard your stories. So has it helped your javelin throwing any?
The burger?
Yeah.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Just make sure if it gave you extra strength or
Yeah.
whatever. We don't know.
No 2 more meters after that.
Two,
No, I messed
2 more
up.
meters.
I messed up and I ate it Sunday afternoon, and I had practice Monday afternoon where I was actually throwing, and I did not throw well.
I would have been throwing. I'd have been throwing up. That's
How-
what I would have been
How
doing.
close
That's
to
really cool.
your season?
I compete Friday.
You compete Friday, first time of the year?
Yep.
Awesome.
Very
Here-
excited. Here?
Here at Fifth Third Bank Stadium, the track right next to it.
Very
Awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Very
Good
cool.
luck.
We have to come by and see that. What time is that?
I don't know when the javelin is yet because they haven't released the schedule to the athletes, but javelin typically occurs midday around 1 p.m.
Oh, cool.
So.
I know I'm coming up here for late lunch or early dinner. Me and Mark Orr are coming up before poker. You gonna play poker?
No, I'm actually going to be at the communication contest for the deaf and hard of hearing on Friday.
I won't even make a joke about that. That's a good thing to do.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you don't want to make a joke.
All right. Well, Caitlin, thanks for sitting in with us and explaining. We want everybody else to come in and try this burger. What's it? It's $24.95. Is that what it is?
$24.99, and you win the bucket hat. Unfortunately, the burger's not free.
Even if you eat it, it's not free. So
No.
I know I did a steak thing
costs-
once, but they said if you do it the next time, your steak's free. But I don't get to Janesville, Wisconsin very often.
Yeah, and I mean, if you eat 2 cows and half a field of potatoes, why would you get that for free? I never understood that.
Yeah, I didn't understand either.
No, we run the promotion for 2 more weeks. Once the end of March Madness occurs, then it's the end of the promotion. So if anyone thinks they can beat me, I'd like to see them try.
And ask for Caitlin at the door so you can sit at her table.
It's not going to be hard. It took me like an hour and a half.
There you go. Well, thanks for sitting in with us, Caitlin.
Of course.
And have a good evening.
Absolutely.
We're going to get our guests in here. I went, as you know, many of you know, I went to the game in Greensboro on Friday, and I met this young man, Mr. Ben Hyduke. Everybody give Ben a big welcome. And hey, how you doing, Ben?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
I'm
We're
good.
good.
So I went up to this table, like 4 or 5 guys, and they're all drinking and wearing their beads and all that stuff. And they said, "Dude, if you do a sports show, this guy has got to be on it." So that was Ben. So that
I think some of those jokers are tuned in now.
Are they?
Yeah. I'm bleed black and gold, sport management degree, Kennesaw State 2014. So happy to be here.
And happy to have you here. So we'll get your other buddies on too once they'll see how easy it is, right? All right, cool. So let's get into what we're going to talk about this week, the weekend happenings. Obviously, the World Baseball Classic wrapped up last night with Ohtani striking out Trout on a curveball, it looked like to me.
Fell off the plate.
Fell off the plate. You would expect a fastball from Ohtani, but he pulled a big one on Trout.
That's what the good pitchers do. They throw you 202-mile-an-hour cheeses and then drop it off.
He
the
got him to
table and-
fish, didn't he?
That's
Didn't he
it.
got Trout to fish?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Oh, I'm not going there, Chuck.
Okay, good.
Sadly, that might be the biggest highlight for the Angels this year is Ohtani striking out Trout before the season even starts.
It might be.
It could be. It could be. This is a big season for Rendon. I can tell you that.
Oh, it is.
Rendon's looked awful for the last 2 years, and he's still a young guy. He's still under contract for another 7 years.
So what is it with the World Baseball Classic? I mean, they don't. It's not a every 3 or 4 year. I know the next one's in 3 years, but it's been 6 years since they've done it. I mean, what is the purpose of the World Baseball Classic?
I think it got canceled because of COVID.
COVID.
So it'll go back to its normal thing. It's kind of like the Olympics. Only during the Olympics is the middle of the major league season, and you're never going to see them do a timeout so that all that stuff can happen. I think it's okay. I'm personally not into it. I've trained myself. I'm a big fantasy nerd when it comes to baseball. I don't follow spring training because it's pretty worthless. But I think there's a chance that it could stay around. But the biggest thing is it's not going to be at this time of year because right now the Mets don't have a closer. Astros don't have a second baseman, which I don't lose any sleep over, mind you. But, at some point in time, I think this is going to have to get moved to November.
I
Or
totally agree.
Something like that.
Yeah, because it's kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, like NASCAR, we'll talk briefly about NASCAR in a minute, but they have their biggest event of the year, the first race of the year. They have the Daytona 500, and that's the biggest race they have, other than the championship, I guess. But
Even then, it's still
people want to win the
Daytona.
Daytona. They probably want to win
Absolutely.
it more than they do. So the same thing with the Classic. Is it from a more international perspective? Is it the other countries that it's a big deal for? Because like Freddie Freeman was playing for Canada because his mom is Canadian.
It's a convoluted mess. I know one of my friends down the road. He's actually a freshman in college. He played baseball throughout the rankings, and the guy we played with is the catcher for England.
Wow.
So but he went to North Cobb or Kennesaw Mountain. So it's just one of those things. I don't know.
Yeah, but all in all, it's just a baseball game, right? And I understand that Diaz got hurt, and I understand that Altuve got hurt, but that could have been any spring training game, right?
It
So
could have-
baseball is baseball.
It could be, but somebody who is it is different when you're going against Venezuela and somebody is throwing spring training for the Mariners or me pitching for my country. Oh, I'm reaching back with a little bit more. So there's going to be more injuries and just such an odd time. Most people are just getting ramped up and you're throwing players into World Series-like conditions with that level of stress and everything. I don't see where it's good for your team to have a lot of participants.
I can't believe we agree on something. That's pretty cool.
I'm with you there too, Robert. I think the timeline should definitely change. Maybe they're better conditioned later in November. I think one thing that baseball's on their agenda is growing the game, improving the game. I think that's, from a viewership standpoint, was big. Obviously, we're going to the bigger bases, the pitch clock, et cetera. So I think as much of the owners don't get that control, I think Rob Manfred in the back of his mind probably is a big proponent of the Classic.
I think you're right because it does seem much more popular in all of the other countries. And if you're trying to grow the game, I remember watching it a few years ago. I mean, you don't know that half of your favorite players are from the Dominican Republic
Until they're playing for the other
you're
team.
like, holy man, this is a freaking lock, stock, and barrel lineup.
It's crazy. And I heard Manfred wanted more high-level pitchers. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah.
Pitching in the game?
Yep.
Yeah. But the thing I got of it was this new kid from Japan that obviously broke Otani's high school record for a fastest pitch. And He said it might have been 99, but that's high school. That's an amazing stat for somebody in high school, isn't it?
And these types of games are only going to propel more kids to reach back and do it. So I'm okay in the long run.
You okay with this classic?
I just don't think, like I said, I think it's at the wrong time of year. Maybe it could be like the NFL Pro Bowl game where whoever's in the Super Bowl doesn't have any so
Exactly.
same kind of thing.
Whoever's not in the World Series,
Whoever's
let's
in
go
the-
do this World Classic.
Correct. If you're not in the NLCS or the ALCS, you're in this.
Yeah.
And once your team's done, if you're like, hey, I want to play third for Puerto Rico, so be it.
Maybe it'd be a way to do away with the silly All-Star game. I don't think that'll happen, but
I don't think so either. Because, really, when you look at it, the All-Star game is just another way for your players to get hurt. It does not behoove your slugger to swing harder than he's ever done 400 times on
just
a
to
Monday,
win the
on a
All-Star
Monday
Home Run
night,
Derby contest.
Guess what? He made it to another round. Great. That means he gets to swing hard 40 more times.
And he'll be tired for the rest of the month of July.
Excuse me, I was going to say, there's always that second half curse, too. You go in the home
Absolutely.
run derby, and a lot of times it throws you off for the second half. So
I think Pete Alonso is one of the few people who hasn't had that hiccup.
Mets
But,
guy? Yeah.
He's just built like that. He doesn't care.
he's also lifting weights in between rounds, so he's a different cat for
Yeah,
sure.
he is.
He's a big dude. Yep. So World Baseball Classic's over. Congrats to Japan. And we're a week away from the regular season starting.
That's correct.
That's crazy, isn't it? How fast this winter has
My
gone.
fantasy baseball draft is Saturday.
We can't wait to hear about it next Wednesday.
Woo, lots of stress. 14-team league. 14-team leagues are tough.
Yeah.
If you get the first pick, you're not picking again until 28.
Yeah,
You,
that's
you better
tough.
hope that first guy hands out in a big sort of way.
In a big way. All right, we'll touch briefly on the race that took place here in Atlanta over the weekend. Austin Hill, my cousin, has now won 3 out of 5 of the Xfinity races. And I think only a couple of people have ever done that. 3 out of the 5 in the first year. I think Kyle Busch was one of them. I can't remember who the other one was.
And I'm not super NASCAR guy, especially anymore. We've gone through that before. But I will say, back when Kyle Busch was doing it, he was doing both. He wasn't just, so I think what your cousin is doing is way more impressive.
Yeah.
Because Kyle Busch was already the man when he would drop back down, if you will, to do that. There was a time not too long ago where the most interesting person or the most famous person in all of Chuck's relatives' phones was Chuck. But it turns out Austin might be speeding away with that title currently.
Very quickly.
Because, good Lord, like you said, 3 races in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
It's not like there's only 3 people racing.
No.
I mean, that's
No.
impressive.
Well, a couple of the guys from the Xfinity series moved up, and that probably helped him a little. But he's still
A
a
little
great
bit.
racer. I mean, he's won 2 years in a row at Daytona and 2 years in a row at Atlanta, and that's pretty tough.
I'm comfortable without knowing a lot of facts, which has never stopped me before, that your is it cousin?
Cousin.
Your cousin will not be at that level for much longer.
I hope that's the case. I'd love to see
After
him
a
move
title
up.
this year.
Yeah, I'd love to see him move up to the Cup. All right, 2 weeks till the Masters. That's hard to believe. Watched the Players Tournament, and now watching a little bit this afternoon. I was watching the Dell Technology Match Play. I really like the match play. I think that's a lot of fun to watch. Rory won, but a lot of the big names were getting knocked off. I think Rahm was down 1 with 2 holes to play or something like that when I turned it
feeling
off
better,
about an
though?
hour ago. Huh?
He's feeling better again.
He's feeling better, yep. So it seems like he's there. But, we talked last week about Scotty Scheffler and him being the returning champion at the Masters. Is he the favorite? Is he not the favorite? He spent a couple of days on Masters turf last week with his family playing golf with his dad and stuff, so that was pretty cool.
I know he's a favorite between all the golfers because he's cooking steak and like brisket and everything. The night before.
Everything good for
You
the
know,
dinner on
sometimes-
Tuesday night.
Sometimes those guys get horrible food thrown in their face, and he's hooking them up. So I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Now, Ben, you said you're a golfer. Have you played at the Masters?
I have not. I haven't even attended. I'll take a practice round at this point, but definitely on the bucket list. But yeah, I mean, in my eyes, I don't think anybody else other than Scotty would be favored. But a big storyline that I'm got my eye on is the reunion of the Live guys coming back in for the major. So
Tell him, Robert, don't bring that subject up.
It's a subject that you're going to have to hear about, Chuck.
I am not a live guy.
I'm not a live guy per se either, but I wouldn't hate to see one of them win just to throw some
I would.
gas on the fire there.
Yeah. Oh, so you like a little controversy?
Yeah, all the villains went to live. Well, you got DeChambeau.
I love that
Koepka,
word. The villains went. Yeah.
Patrick Reed. They all. Sergio Garcia even. They all left, and I think that's taken a little bit out of it. So we'll see.
But how much have you really heard about live this year?
I tuned in for the first time last week on the CW, but
Did ya?
yeah, I don't. Who knows what'll happen with that? But I think it's at least growing the game. People are talking a little bit more about it. So
Yeah.
He hates the whole idea. But, we talked about it last year a little bit. And, Liv can't get out there until it's on finally a CW.
Right.
Last year they weren't on any channels. So, you make it to, TV 69 or Channel 36
Right.
locally. And, maybe someday you do it a little more.
yeah.
Okay. I haven't turned on CW. I have no interest in watching the CW. I have no interest in live golf. Period.
I'm with you there. I just for the four majors, I just want to see the best of the best in the world, and that's
I love
my
the
thing.
majors.
Yeah. Let them play the majors. Forget the rest of it.
Yeah. Go home. We don't love you. Go away. Nothing to do.
I know.
I like Cam Smith.
That's Mullet Man.
Yes.
Mullet Man, he won TPC last year.
Mullet Man looked
Yes.
really good.
Last year, yeah.
And now we were talking because I don't follow the PGA nearly as close as this guy. Who's Koepka? So is he hurt or is he just on the live tour?
He's just on the live tour.
So,
You don't hear anything about him anymore.
Hurt
don't-
ego.
But,
Hurt ego.
Yeah.
but when you see him 2 weeks from now, better watch out. That dude loves majors.
And
And,
speaking of 2 weeks from now, we will be having another tournament. I know we're in the middle of our NCAA brackets now, but we will have a Masters tournament where you can also win a $25 gift card to right here at lovely Miller's Ale House. And we will be giving you details on that next week. It'll be like you take a former champion, a European player, an American player, and a first-timer. And if you pick the right combination of those four, you'll win the
I've done some
most
fantasy
money.
golf before.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting way to pick it.
That's the way the Masters.com does it. And I hope
gotcha.
Larry, do
Cool.
you remember if they offered that as something that we could do our own tournament on there? I think they did, but we'll figure it out between now and next week. But we'll have some Masters tournament. Speaking of Masters, I've got a friend that owns a business out in Augusta named Bearcat Commercial. So let's go ahead and do Bearcat Express commercial.
Do you need a delivery right now? As in go now, please? Bearcat Express has expedited shipping on hand-carried items, car, van, or pickup. Whether it's from Memphis to Charlotte, Atlanta to Dothan, or even just Athens to Augusta and all points in between, we've got the drivers to get your stuff where it needs to be. Whether your passport's still on the dresser, your 5-iron isn't in your bag, or you have a dog that hates to fly, Bearcat Express with their live tracking capabilities is the team to turn to. We are the go-to courier in the Southeast. Check us out at bearcatexpress.com.
And thank you, Blair Cook, for being the sponsor of Three Guys Who Love Sports. Now, do you always say 5-iron? I always thought it was 7-iron.
It was 7-iron, and then I changed it to 5 wood last week because wood flows a lot easier off the
Off the tongue?
There's something about that 7 irons. I was like, 5 wood. Oh, yeah, it just flows.
It's a golf club, right?
It's a
if
golf
you leave
club.
your club, so that's
Yeah.
cool. Again, thank you, Blair, for being a sponsor. And let's move on to the biggest news of the week from the NFL. Roger Goodell. I know David McDonough, if you're watching, you're not happy about this because his fantasy football team was no more Goodell or something like that, or get rid of Goodell, something.
Goodell must go. I
Goodell must go. That's what it was, yeah. So, so I know David's not happy about this, but I think he's going to be the longest tenured NFL commissioner ever, I think. Isn't that right?
Yep, absolutely.
Are you a Goodell fan or a non-Goodell fan?
Personally, I'm not, but if I'm looking at it from the owner's perspective, I see the revenue streams are going up and up and up and up. He's kind of avoided controversy outside of maybe the kneeling issue he had during a few years back, and for the most part, I'm an owner. He's done what I've wanted, so I keep the train on the tracks.
That's why they're keeping him, I think.
100% agree. The only job of the commissioner is to make the owners richer, and
And happier.
He's done nothing but that. He's also had to deal, just like you said, with the kneeling. When you think about all of the different things that a commissioner has to deal with, two of his biggest problems have been the owners themselves. Whether
Absolutely.
it's Kraft or Jones, look at these morons and what they're doing and everything else. So they'll keep paying him. I don't know if this is the final contract. How long was this contract for?
I think was it a 4-year or something
I
like
think I
that?
saw 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
The new one that they're proposing today? Is
Yes, I
today
believe
they're
so. Yep.
proposing?
I believe I saw
So,
5.
but I think this is the last term. I think they said the last 2 commissioners, Pete Rozelle and who was the other one?
Tagliabue?
Tagliabue. They retired at 63 and 64 respectively, and he's 65 now. Is that right? Yeah.
A lot of stress. Even though we don't think about it, I'm sure he goes to bed thinking, "Oh, Jim Irsay wants me fired." He goes through all the different owners he's made mad this week. or
Arthur
something.
Blank
Yeah,
doesn't
Arthur
love
Blank's
me
not
anymore.
returning my calls anymore.
While he's going to sleep thinking about Jim Irsay, there's no telling what Jim Irsay's doing at that hour.
Jim Irsay's like,
That's for sure.
I can hire Larry the engineer and win football games.
Boy, Irsay's really hurting, isn't he?
Hey, Irsay
yeah, I'm
thinks
telling
he
you.
can win however he wants to, and why not Larry?
There you go, Larry the engineer. So, and we'll say this real briefly. We're going to have on the 26th of April, we're going to have our own draft show where we're going to take the top 10 draft picks, and we're going to have 8 different
Oh, amazing.
GMs come in. So if you want to be one of the GMs,
Hey,
we'll get you here to let you be a GM.
absolutely,
All right.
absolutely.
And we're going to draw the week before to see what slot you have. You may get the second slot. It might be Houston, but by the time the draft comes around, it might be.
Got to tune in for
Patriots
that
or
one.
whatever, yeah,
that
yeah.
Could, that could get spicy.
All right, cool. So we'll put you down as a GM for the day. That'll be fun.
Did you see the Colts are showing their poker face really well?
Oh, yeah.
We're going to sign him or we're going to draft somebody. It's like, okay, well, thanks for telling us everything that's going on in the back of your mind.
Exactly. So a lot of quarterbacks moved in the last week. 22 quarterbacks, I think I saw. The most notable from our perspective is Marcus Mariota going to the Eagles. I was wondering where he was going to land or if he was going to land.
Yeah, he's still serviceable. I know that's not a word that any quarterback wants to hear, but you're not vying for one of the top 32 jobs now. You're vying for one of the next 32, and that's clearly him
Well, they say the best job in the NFL is backup quarterback, right?
holding a clipboard.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
then-
I was kind of surprised that he got picked up. I mean, he's always been heard of as a team guy, bring him into locker room guy, veteran leadership, et cetera. There, if the rumors are true, he kind of quit on our Falcons, and I thought that might have been the nail in the coffin for him. But good for Philly. He kind of brings a similar skill set to Jalen Hurts, so they can probably plug and play him, God willing, that they don't have to do that. But
Yeah.
it made sense naturally.
Yeah, and the same thing because we talked about it a little bit last week, but I'll get your opinion. What do you think about Taylor Heineke coming here? Georgia boy.
Yeah, I think it's a great fit. I think he kind of fits that grittiness that Arthur Smith brings to the table.
he definitely does.
Still hoping that Desmond Ridder pans out to be who we hope he does.
We all
But
are.
I think it's a natural fit and another good locker room guy. So definitely, I actually met Taylor Heineke way before his fame when he was at ODU at the old Electric Cowboy on Barrett Parkway when that was still a thing.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, great dude from my brief interaction with him. But I'm pumped to have him in Atlanta.
Yeah, I am too. Robert tagged them the Fighting Heinekes, or did you steal that from somebody?
No, I think you did it.
I did that? I
Yeah,
thought you did that.
Well, I just love the guy, and he reminds me of the Notre Dame guy, and I think you kind of
Rudy?
no, the leprechaun, with the whole.
Oh,
I'll say this: out of all the different, I've got the list right here.
of the quarterbacks?
Carr to New Orleans, Garoppolo to the Raiders. The one that I think actually is an important move is the Jets quarterback. The only guy who could win last year
Mike
for
White?
the Jets was Mike White.
He went to Miami? Is that where
He went to Miami.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden he's taking the backup role for a guy who can't ever walk out onto the field. And now here are the Jets. What are the freaking Jets going to do? They got a guy who their number one pick. What's his name? Milf Hunter.
Wilson. Zach
Yeah,
Wilson?
Yeah, Zach Wilson.
They got Zach Wilson, who's not good, and
The
if
MILF.
and if they don't get Rodgers, all of a sudden you just got rid of White.
Yeah.
It
Right.
completely blew me away because I was thinking, well, going in, they got a lot of good pieces, but
Right.
I just thought that was a
And
very
now
odd
they
move.
got Aaron, another receiver, in who did I say? Hardeman. McCole
Yeah,
Hardeman from
yeah,
Georgia.
Yeah. I think Rodgers coming out and kind of showing his cards kind of screwed the Jets from a leverage standpoint a little bit. So I think everyone's just a stalemate with those two organizations.
Well, but I don't believe anything the guy says.
That too.
When you say, he ruins this, if that's what he was thinking all along, but you never, he thinks he is the smartest guy in every room he's ever in, which he might be half the time. I don't know. But everything he says is like, is that for this year or this year? You want me to think about that tomorrow? So
Right now, he's the GM for the Jets.
he's
the way it's coming out.
He's,
Yeah.
he's the GM for both teams.
Yeah.
He's the GM for two teams right now.
And I think Green Bay has pretty much said, okay, we're done with you. It's just a matter of compensation now, right?
Yeah, but if that compensation doesn't get to the level, you're not done with them. You're
Yeah.
stuck with a $59 million problem.
And Jordan Love sits another year.
How crazy is it, the kind of career arcs of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, down to even the Jets?
The Jets.
It's
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Aaron Rodgers has turned into Brett Favre. It's crazy.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead, Robert.
I heard the other day when somebody was first talking about this probably a month ago, and they said, well, the Jets, why would he want to go to the Jets? I'm like, because they have way better wide receivers. Garrett Wilson, as soon as you put Garrett Wilson, that is a better wide receiving core, even if it's only him.
And
compared to
anybody
the
the
other team.
the
Absolutely.
Packers had, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So football's interesting even when it's not football season. That's what I love about football.
It's never dull. And these are the weeks, last week or whatever. That's probably when you're going to win a championship. You're going to win it on day 3 of the draft and week 1 of free agency.
So is Lamar Jackson going to stay in Baltimore?
I think so. I mean, I was looking back. I think it's the non-exclusive franchise tag they placed on him. In the 30-plus years that's been a thing, there's only been one player. Of course, I don't remember who it was that has actually switched teams. But, I mean, he's asking for all that guaranteed money and then plus 2 first-round picks. I mean, that's going to hamstring whatever team takes
Colts
him
will
on.
do it. Colts will do it.
Colts will do anything. Give it to the Colts. They'll do anything.
I think it's just those two teams at this point.
Yeah.
If Aaron Rodgers is down to the Jets and the Packers, I think it's the Colts or the Ravens
For Jackson?
yeah.
Yeah.
The interesting thing with him is he reps himself. He doesn't have a
He doesn't have an
per
agent.
se, so
Yeah.
I hope it works out for him, either one way or the other.
It's
Yeah.
going to work out for him. Oh, you did a horrible deal. You only got 187 million. You should have gotten 212.
Great point.
Yeah. And, I'll say this real quick. The Falcons are picking at 8 as of now. I've heard so much scuttlebutt this week. If they don't take one Georgia Bulldog, they ought to take another Bulldog. And it's from a station 92.9 that I think all their sponsors are Georgia Bulldog fans because that's all they talk about is, oh, if we turn down him, oh, there's going to be hell to pay and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, please.
I believe, if we don't do anything, we've got the 8th pick. I believe there's 4 quarterbacks being taken before them, and I believe Will Anderson and from Georgia, big boy, number 8.
Jalen Carter?
Jalen Carter. I believe those 2 are both gone. So that's 6 of the 7 picks. Basically, pick another guy, and we'll be left with everything else.
I'm not going to stake my life on it,
Yeah.
but I'll say Jalen Carter will not go in the top 10.
He won't make it past 8, and I said that to you 3 weeks ago. Bank on that one.
He
I
will
think
not get picked in the top 10.
I don't know what to think. I mean, talent-wise, of course. I mean, he's a top 3 guy.
Absolutely is.
It's funny. A few months back, I think it was Todd McShay raised to light some character concerns, and everyone went at him and said, "Where's the evidence?" And now you've seen everything unfolded with him, and it seems like the guy at the top of his profession actually knew what he was talking about.
Yep. And he on his pro day he didn't perform well. He
Right.
couldn't complete all the tasks. And they say, yeah, no. But there's got to be some point in time. We talk a lot about Coach Amir, the basketball coach at KSU, and I listened to his interview yesterday on 92.9 The Game, and he talked about the guy's got to fit our type of guy. He's got to be our type of guy. So what's the difference? Is it just money between they got to be our type of guy in college and they got to be our type of guy in the pros? Because Arthur Smith has already said, he's got a certain type of guy that he wants. And I think there's some morality to that, not just talent.
There is, but every owner will look the other way when it behooves him on these types of decisions. I'll say there was a Longacre sitting at the end of this table not long ago who was throwing Mr. Carter under the bus.
Yeah.
And when I brought up his favorite running back, Mr. Mixon, it changed the whole dialogue
Yeah.
of the conversation. He's such a big weapon. And we both agree on something else, Chuck, and I know you think this is crazy, but what's more important, how you look in your underwear and how high you jump in Indianapolis, or game film?
Well, game film.
So
No doubt about it.
Jalen Carter showing up heavy and a step slow really doesn't matter to the people who it matters most to.
Well, we're going to find out here in,
Yes, we
in a
will.
month, right?
Hey, I hope to God the first 7 people pass on him. I think that's
Yeah, and that's what they were saying on the 92.9. If the Falcons don't take him and he's there will be an uproar. But I think that's from a Georgia perspective. I don't think it's from a national perspective.
I think, in all honesty, this is a number 1 pick outside of the position of quarterback. In some years, he would be the number 1 pick because you didn't like the quarterback as much, kind of like we had last year, where the number 1 quarterback wasn't taken until Pickett was taken 17th or something like that.
Sure.
That's how good this guy is. So if you're sitting at 8 and you all of a sudden, this is that kind of blockbuster. He cannot make it past us. There's no doubt. We'll do a side bet on that one.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. All right, cool. Well, let's go on to our second commercial, unless you got something else to add about football, Robert.
Football's been very, very good.
Football
to me.
has been very, very good to us.
Let's see. I got these commercials all over the place today. So many brackets.
It's
and other
Modern
things.
Image this time.
I know. Modern Image is a locally owned document and photograph scanning company that helps clients secure and use paper files and photos. Whether it's important business files or sentimental family photos and videos, Modern Image is dedicated to helping clients solve problems around paper.
Go Dogs.
Thank you, Chuck.
I'm required to say that by law. We got our guest from last week's Owl Show, Christian Scragg, back in the audience.
There we go.
They're here to see Chris Youngblood at 7 o'clock. So everybody's
Why not?
excited about Chris being here. That's fantastic. Speaking of Chris Youngblood, let's talk a little bit about the dance. This has been one crazy weekend, has it not?
Sure has. It sure has. Wish it would have ended just a tad bit different, but
For our Owls, yeah.
it's going to take a few weeks, maybe a
Both
month.
of these gentlemen were in Greensboro for the game, just
Yes.
for the record.
Yeah, we actually met at an alumni tailgate. Really,
Yep.
Really good showing by Owl Nation, by the way.
Oh, it was fantastic.
I didn't
yeah.
know what to think as I was pulling up, but I was definitely exceeded my expectations.
Yeah, way beyond mine. And Francis Boyce, I think is her last name, did a phenomenal job putting this thing together. And I know we'll talk briefly about the Owls. Great game. We were up by 13, 61-48 with about 9:17 left in the game. And I was literally sitting next to Will Renfro. And I said, Will, I am this close to tears because I really thought we were moving on to the round of 32.
Yeah, I had the text lined up to my wife saying I'm going to extend my stay through Sunday. Sorry about it, but didn't have the opportunity to hit send on that one.
Oh, that's funny because I told I was supposed to ride back with Will on Saturday, but these guys were going to come up on Sunday. I said, if we win, I'm going to ride back with Brandon Russell, who was leaving right after the game, and ride back up with Larry and Adam and Robert and whoever wanted to come. So I was very excited about going up for a Sunday game.
Yeah, and kind of looking forward to next year. I think there's a lot to be confident about it. From what I've heard, I think Liberty's maybe leaving the ASUN next year. We've got one more year there. Is that correct?
No, we're done.
We're done. So
Yeah, we're done.
Really?
Well, we are for football. I don't know
I believe-
how basketball winds
We're
up.
in the ASUN for basketball, but there's a chance that if we win the conference championship, they won't
Well,
let us go to the NCAA tournament.
because we're leaving. Yeah.
Well,
We'll figure that out in the meantime. But, it was wild. And I'll say this, and I think Ben will back me up on this. When we were walking into the game, there were a lot of Xavier people walking around us, and we got asked repeatedly, where is Kennesaw?
Sure
Where
did.
is Kennesaw?
Sure did.
That's a little bit northwest of Atlanta. It's a great town. And people just say, oh, well, we didn't know. But I know one thing. What section? Were you in 126? Where we
no,
all
I
were?
was in, I believe it was 120. And
So
we
you're a
tried to
little bit
make our
further down.
way. We tried to make our way over to the Kennesaw section, but I just grabbed the first tickets I could find when we got the seating.
Those announcers were really, the ushers were very stickler
They were.
about where you were sitting.
Yeah, two of my
weren't they?
buddies got caught. So,
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, but
But I will tell you this, the war chant, you don't want to go to war with the Owls.
Yep.
We started singing that in the first part of the first half, and people were looking like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, by the end of the game, everybody except the Xavier fans were singing,
Absolutely.
"We don't want to go to war with the Owls."
That's the beautiful thing about going to March Madness, because when you are the smaller seed, every other team's going to add onto you because everybody wants
And
Cinderella.
we talked about you bringing that up so many times when we were up there last week. That was a great point.
Yep.
And I know this. I had several people text me and say, "You can hear you guys singing over the TV," and that was really, really cool to know that
Yeah.
we made an impact.
I saw on Twitter a Xavier beat writer was still tweeting about that chant the next day, so it was stuck in his head. And yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
Oh, it's probably the best fight chant I've ever heard. It was,
Absolutely.
It really is cool. And I heard that, was it you that told me that Charles Barkley was talking about KSU the next day between another game, the half of another game that was on? Was that you that told me that?
I don't know if I did, but I think I saw
That
it.
that was me, Chuck.
Oh, that was Larry. Yeah. What game was that, Larry? The Gonzaga TCU game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the Gonzaga
TCU game.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
See you.
So that's really cool that we have got some exposure from this. No matter what, KSU got some great exposure
They
from
did.
being at the dance.
They did, but the same way you were welling up, I was getting my playlist together for my road trip. So I had already convinced a Tyson Scragg and a Wade Bradford to join me, and people were like, "Who's Thelma? Who's Louise?" I'm like, "I don't know, but we're road tripping."
Oh, that's cool.
I had already gone forward to see where they were playing this week because I knew if I drove up on Sunday, we were going to win. So going to Kansas City, I had already put it on
Was
the
that
phone.
the next place?
Yeah, that's where
Wilbur Harrison,
Xavier will
Kansas
be.
City, great song.
So,
Yeah, I hate it that didn't happen. But we can't look back.
nope.
Like Ben said, we got to look forward, and we got a lot to look forward to, even beyond him being on the show tonight at 7. So let's talk about the rest of the tournament. What is the most shocking loss to you?
I'll say Arizona since I had them winning my bracket, and my bracket was busted before I was able to eat dinner on Thursday.
Which is that's not easy to do.
It's not easy to do, and I take a lot of credit for that. Thank you. I will say this: as awesome as this weekend was, there's like this little part of my soul that really didn't care because you can't even pick a team to make it out of that. But it was an incredible weekend.
It was a great weekend.
Obviously, Purdue, unbelievable. Arizona, unbelievable. But they weren't alone.
Virginia
Virginia.
took it on. Well, how about you, Ben? Which was one of the most?
I mean, it's got to be the FDU over Purdue. I mean, it's only happened 2 times in history now. And their coach has already bolted and filled Rick Pitino's shoes over at Iona. So it's
I know. Now is he
It
the
was
one that
quick.
ripped off his shirt? when
No,
they
that
won?
was
Must
That was
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah,
Arkansas.
Musselman,
Yeah. Must have.
And if they win, they're going to be third straight time in the Elite Eight, which would be tied for a record, I believe, as well. So
For Arkansas.
Yep.
That's pretty
Back to
cool.
Nolan Richardson's days.
Yeah.
I'd have to say the most shocking one to me, and maybe because I had them picked in my Final Four, was Duke losing. I thought they were playing at the right time of the year,
Right.
and I thought it was really, really cool that Duke had a shot to get there. They just didn't play well. I mean, they got beat pretty bad.
Duke checked every box on a piece of paper. They were hot at the right time. Everybody was gelling. But, as I like to say, any season that ends in the Dukies losing is a great season. So regardless to anything else, I'm okay right
Yeah,
now.
somebody posted that on Facebook. I can't remember. Was it Patrick? I think Patrick Vickers from KSU. And I said, unless you have them in your Final Four.
I've actually picked them before to win,
Yeah.
just so that if they win, I might get some money. But if they lose, I'm still happy. So.
There you go.
And I'm shocked that nobody said Kansas because that was a pretty big loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, go ahead.
No,
So Purdue did not shock me because I said even the week before I thought they should have been a 3 seed instead of a 1 seed, and they
Right.
wound up can't even get out of the first round. They learned how to beat them. Somebody learned how to beat them, and it went through, just like I had said for 3 weeks ago.
The problem with Purdue is they've got a great 7-footer, and ATI is giving me horrible looks right now, but I'm not even going to focus in his direction right now. They've got an awesome 7-footer, but when it comes tournament time, that's not the way the style of game is being played. So they have a slow, methodical offense where they like to go in and out. And if you're having to deal with a 7-footer, ditching it back out, that's not the way an FDU's lining them up from downtown early and often.
Yep, you're spot on there, Robert. Guard play wins in March. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's a great point. Guard play wins in March. And we can't go without saying something about Princeton, because they not only beat, who was it, the first, they beat a 2 seed and
Yeah, they took out
Seven.
Marquette.
That's right.
Marquette,
No,
yeah.
Michigan State took out Marquette. Princeton took out whoever the 7 seed was.
No, Michigan State was the 7, beat the 7.
Michigan State took out Marquette.
I think they did because Izzo took out Shaka Smart. That
Yeah.
was a headline.
Yeah.
Well, either way,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
a 15, so
Right.
it's a 2 that
Missouri.
lost.
They took out Missouri.
The
But
Missouri's
they
a
had
3.
to beat a 2 to start out.
Yes.
Yeah,
No,
somebody beat Missouri.
Missouri's a
It was
7.
3.
Missouri was the
Missouri
7.
was a 7? No,
Yes.
yeah, Marquette was the 3 that I was thinking of, yeah. Yeah. No. So, Robert
Princeton
said
beat Arizona.
There
Princeton
we
beat
go.
Number
Arizona.
2.
That's
There
it.
we go.
A 15 has to play a 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. And then Princeton beat, who did they beat after that?
They beat Missouri after
So they beat Missouri after that. So kudos to Princeton. They played that slow down ball game. I think the Arizona game was what, 55-51?
that super slow
45-41,
game.
very, very slow paced game.
The Ivy League.
Boring based
Outsmart you.
basketball.
Yep.
And
you know-
who's left from the Big Ten? There's only one team.
There's only one team.
Michigan State.
Michigan State, and they've got such an odd team right now. I was watching a little bit of both of their games, and they've got this thing where basically they go, as fast as they can down the court, and if it's not there, they go 4 corners and just work the whole clock. So it's a very weird.
Tom
Right.
Izzo's a great coach.
He sure is.
He's been there a long, long time.
I will say this too. Although my bracket's really bad, I want to give a shout out to Kansas State, which I have going to the Final Four. I remember in their one game, I don't think they made a shot from further away than 5 feet.
Really?
Yeah, I mean they shot 12 threes. They didn't make any of them. They shot a bunch of jumpers. You look at their points in the paint.
All points in the paint.
Everything is about them getting to the hole, and that team was picked last in the Big 12.
Wow.
Kind of like KSU was picked 8th in the ASUN.
Yeah, I mean but it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and they've got the feel-good player in the tournament with Keontae Johnson. Had the heart
Absolutely,
issue.
yeah.
And then he's thriving under Jerome Tang over there in Manhattan, Kansas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And a shout out to the coach who I showed you guys that play earlier, Coach Tongs for Kansas State, who came up with the greatest inbound play I've ever seen.
All 5 guys out of
All
bounds.
5 guys out of bounds. As they hand the ball over, 4 of them run in. It looked like a wide receiver screen with Kelsey blocking.
Or they run in suicides. I
Yeah,
thought they were
yeah,
going to run
absolutely.
suicides. I
Absolutely.
ran many of those.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, it's been a very, very fun tournament. I said before the tournament that this could be the year that no 1 seeds make it. It still can wind up that way. We've lost 2 already.
Probably not though.
Alabama's they've got some injury issues.
Alabama might have injuries issues, but everybody who is ranked high in that little section
Is gone?
Arizona's gone. Virginia's gone.
Yeah. So you still have your Arizona was your champ, right?
I had Arizona beating Alabama in the Elite Eight.
All right. So I have both teams still on the right side of the bracket, Texas and UCLA. I've got UCLA winning.
There you go.
The other side's messed up big time. I think Adam, you have UCLA winning as well, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So
Should
Good.
have been our first sign that Purdue wasn't going to win when ATI
Yeah, right,
named
when he
UCLA.
picked
I didn't pick us to go to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Or no, I didn't pick us farther than the Sweet 16.
Correct. You had them going Sweet 16. It's an awesome, fun time.
So who is in the lead in our bracket, Larry? Do we know?
I believe it's all my buddies.
Larry, the engineer, was at one point in time way out in front.
Larry was working it.
I'm still in the top 10.
Are you? Go, Larry. I'm like
No.
number 15, but I don't have a lot left.
So in first place right now is Howard. Looking good, Howard. Howard's wife just retired. She was a professor at KSU for the last 20 years.
Well, it makes sense that Howard should win then.
No, it definitely doesn't. Howard do not need to win. And then the guy who was sitting over here at the corner last week,
Yeah.
my neighbor, he's in second place. He doesn't know anything. But, he'll be the first person to tell you that. And he's got Gonzaga. So,
Well, I got to tell you the best story about not knowing anything. Did I tell you this? My son. So Chip's never picked a basketball game in his life. He's my 33-year-old son. He had Princeton beating Arizona,
Wow.
and he has Tennessee beating Princeton in the championship game.
Wow.
I said, hey, you still got your final two in there, so I can't say anything more than that for your dad. So.
But that's the way it happens. Going into this tournament, everybody, they give you the four seed, and then they go, but Tennessee isn't going to be any good. Well, guess what? They've made it through, and they're running out of teams to play.
And it wasn't that long ago that they were in there for maybe a possible 1 seed.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And
They
now
were a
they
top
wind
5
up
team.
a 4 seed, right?
The thing with Tennessee is defense travels, and they play some defense. I think FAU's coach, I think that's who they're matched up with, right? Tennessee FAU, he mentioned something about they're preparing to play a rugby team. So they rough them up, and they're one to watch. They've gotten hot.
No, it's a lot of fun. I just lost my train of thought. That's why I have this piece of paper so I could. Oh, what I was going to say is, hypothetically, when you go into the Sweet 16 weekend, you should have 4 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, and 4 4s left. One should be playing 4, 2 should be playing 3. Currently, we have 9 teams that are supposed to be here and 7 teams that aren't. So, that's about as topsy-turvy, I think, as it gets.
I think you would agree. I think I would agree. There are 11 different conferences represented in the Sweet 16, which is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Parity has truly reached college basketball this year, right?
Absolutely. That's why they say it's the greatest tournament in the world.
And it is the greatest tournament in the world. Let's get one of the greatest sponsors in the world, Supreme Lending, and then we'll dive into our new brackets.
New brackets.
Robert searching for Alvin Jamison and Supreme Lending.
Supreme Lending was founded in 1999 with one goal in mind, to improve the mortgage process. Since then, we've been doing just that. Here, we deliver exceptional service and some of the fastest turn times in the industry. Our team will stay in touch with you throughout the process and get your home closed quickly and conveniently. Whether you are buying or refinancing, our goal is to have your loan clear to close in 30 days or less so that you can focus on all the other things that you need to. Whether it's your first mortgage or your 1,000th, make it Supreme. Find us on the web at alvinjameson.com or give us a call at 865-357-6500.
And Alvin, thank you, and David and Blair for all being sponsors of the Three Guys Who Love Sports. Not to mention the Owl Show that's coming up here at 7 o'clock. So we're excited to be back on the air for another hour starting at 7. Oh, now it's time. ESPN resets the brackets after the first weekend, and now there's a new bracket you can get into. It says, who you got now? So, obviously, I have to stick with UCLA because I've already still got them for my first bracket. Is your bracket busted? Did you have a bracket?
I made one for the first time with my 9-year-old Hudson. Shout out to Hudson watching back
Hudson.
at home. So we kind of did the coin flip thing. He's 2 years into basketball now. We've got Bama over Gonzaga. So
In the championship?
Yeah,
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we've got 3 of our 4 still in the Final Four, so we've still got a fighter's chance there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Has anything really changed, Robert?
I love a new tournament because all the losers like myself get to participate in something if you feel really gypped on the subject. But Alabama, once again, Alabama has a much cleaner path to a title now.
They do.
That's one thing that they didn't have last week. They were supposed to have the most favorable.
We said they had the easiest bracket last week.
And they do. We got that one right.
Yeah. I watched a lot of SEC basketball this year. I won't say who my team in the SEC is. Don't want to get Chuck all riled up. But Alabama, orange and blue down in Gainesville, Florida. It's my team.
Oh, son, me and your own
I thought, the No
Andy-
Dogs, you had to say that. I got it.
No
earlier.
Dogs. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay, yeah. My dad's a UF graduate.
I
so
hate both of them, but that's a different story.
Hey, the enemy is my friend, right?
There you go.
But I watched a lot of SC basketball this year, and Alabama was leaps and bounds from start to finish in my eyes the best team, and so I'm riding with them in March.
After you watch what happened, where all these SEC teams won, you didn't think the SEC was that good going into the tournament, but now all of a sudden, if Arkansas is that good, and Tennessee's that good. Well, boy, it makes Bama even better than we thought.
So they've got 3 in the Sweet 16.
That's
right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
seems
correct.
like the
So-
off the court stuff is what would maybe hold them back, and hopefully that's.
Oh, and speaking of off the course stuff, did you hear what our Lord Nick Saban said yesterday on the news?
Oh man.
There is no such thing as being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Was that a dig towards Oates?
It had to. have been.
Absolutely, and good for Nick. You know, I mean, if you are around stupid long enough, you tend to lean that direction. You know, if every person around you is dumb, you just start saying dumb things. And Nick is trying to make sure he breaks that spell quickly. So,
Well, did you
good
see
for
what
him.
prompted that? This 5-star cornerback that just got on
Oh yeah,
campus
you got caught with
Yeah.
drugs and
going
and
141
firearms
mile
and
an
doing
hour.
141
Yeah,
miles an hour.
Just, I think Nick might be a little bit sensitive to bringing more attention onto his football program. So
Well, but his basketball coach said
Yeah.
that it was just a wrong place at the wrong time for
Yep.
Mr. Miller.
Yep.
No, that's what happens when you go to Starbucks and somebody's holding it up. If you
Yep.
deliver the murder weapon, that's
not being in the wrong
place.
place at the wrong time.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that was Nick saying, "This is still my school.
Yeah, oh,
you
it definitely was.
guys might be winning the basketball. I've got 7 rings. You haven't got anything yet."
But how incredible! I mean, who saw this coming? Nobody.
right.
No. And it gets back to what we talked about last week. They had the easiest seed. Now I did say that Houston had the toughest seed, and obviously that was wrong. I thought they would be the first number 1 out, and they're still playing. And so who do they have this week, Robert?
You know, they got Miami in the first game. So, you know, in that particular seed, it's 1-5 instead of 1-4. So, and on the other side, it's the 2-3. So everybody's pretty much
So
held par.
that region
Has
is
held par.
pretty
And-
much
and,
part of.
And I had that exact region. That's a perfect region for me.
Still?
Still, I just want to point that out since everything else was so bad. And I had Miami winning this game. I think I was really shocked at how well Houston came back. But you look at that second half, they won the second half like 52-20. You know, that was a team that was outclassed and outmanned in the first half, and they came out of the locker room like, no, we're the number 1 team in the country. Don't forget about it.
Without their best 2 players, because Sasser and Jamal Shed both got 4 fouls with about 12 minutes to go and sat for 8 minutes.
Correct.
At least Sasser was back in the
ATI
game
was
from his
at the
pulled
game.
groin.
He got to see some number 1 teams.
Yeah, that's cool. There were a couple of big upsets on the girls' side too. Indiana got taken out by Miami, wasn't it?
It was.
It was
Yeah.
Miami.
Yep.
Now, if you've seen number 14 and number 15 for Miami, I'd drive to Miami to watch those girls play basketball. That's a good-looking pair of girls playing guards for Miami.
They're firmly in the NCAA's crosshairs right now. They're like a use case for the NIL thing down in Miami, and NCAA's stiffing down there.
I
in Coral
have not
Gables.
seen these girls. I don't know, but when you started out your comment saying they are firmly, I was like, oh man, he's going right down Chuck's path. I know this. I know our girl from Purdue's our girl from Iowa,
Yep.
Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
Caitlin Clark. Her entire region has gone to hell in a handbasket, so she's got a wide open. Stanford already lost, so that's a couple 1 seeds down there, but looking good.
Yeah.
And I got to say this, Georgia played them a pretty good game.
They did.
I watched that game until the end. Did you see? I think we talked about that. The last minute of the game, Georgia just, one girl, they were going to lose. One girl punches this girl in the face, basically reached out, didn't even try to go to the ball, just punched her in the face, and I mean, the girl was hurt. And then 5 seconds later, another girl's driving through, just trying to dribble out the clock, and Georgia not only fouls her, but pushes her to the floor and gets intentional fouls on both of them. I mean, that's just classless to me. I mean, they played such a good ball game, and they just couldn't leave it at that. They had to show their Bulldogs. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just Chuck. Don't worry, let him go.
Chuck grinding. Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's just you having the needle on them dogs a little bit.
Yeah.
No, and I agree. Everything you
And
said.
I did say they played very well. They played a great basketball game.
everything you said was spot on. It would just mean a lot more if it was like TCU who did it or something like that. It's like, no, he's not just leveling on them.
No, if another school did it, I would have said the
I know
same
you
thing.
would.
You know I would. So we got a lot of fun things to look forward to this weekend. What's the first game on Thursday? Who's? I'm sorry, Robert. I thought you had it pulled up.
I did, and then we changed, and then I'm back, and then so we have Michigan State, Kansas State, Arkansas, Connecticut, FAU in Tennessee, and Gonzaga, UCLA, all on Thursday.
Gonzaga UCLA is going to be a good
Holy
basketball
moly.
game. Out of all those games, that's the one I want to see.
And does everybody remember the last time they played?
No, talk to me.
The last time they played, there we go. ATI's getting excited. He's a basketball freak. They UCLA took the lead with 2 seconds left, and then
Oh, yeah, I remember that
And then
now.
three from 50 feet. Boom! Game over. Go home. So and these guys were all there. So both sides will still be remembering and talking about it.
I think I had TCU beating Gonzaga in my bracket, actually, and it was a really good ball game. TCU was up at halftime, but Gonzaga came back and beat on them. So
And then the next day, you got San Diego State, Alabama, Miami at Houston, not at Houston, Princeton and Creighton.
Wow.
I had Creighton in this game, but I haven't played Princeton. And Xavier in Texas.
wouldn't it be cool if Xavier won the whole thing and we say, hey, we played them well. We played them well until the last minute and a half. So
As
Xavier's
of
a
now,
good team.
they
Yeah.
are. And as of now, we played them way better than Pittsburgh did. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Pittsburgh got hammered by Iowa State, and we were at that game. What are you shaking your head no at?
They hammered
They beat-
Iowa
they
State.
hammered-
They
yeah,
didn't
then they
get
got beat
hammered
by-
by Iowa State.
Thank you. Now sit back and behave, okay? So Xavier was really, really good ball club.
They were.
But they knew what they were going to. Sean Miller was very complimentary of the Owls.
He sure was. He sure was.
Yeah.
They
So-
came out in that second game and lit it up.
They did.
Everything they couldn't do against us. I mean, I think
They did against Pitt.
five threes from the team in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, so we could always go back and say, hey, would we have beat Pittsburgh and blah, blah, blah. We didn't get the chance, but I think we would have.
I'm gonna. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I like the way Ben thinks.
And and once again, everything worked out well. We had a good location, nice and close in Greensboro. We didn't have one of the super blue bloods, and had we made it through there, you're playing a Pittsburgh team that's playing their third game of the week because they were in the playoffs.